So let's get to that interview then with the ActionSA MP Dereleen James, who is strongly denying allegations that she received classified documents slipped under the door of her parliamentary office. The claims were made by independent investigative Directorate against corruption, IDAC, State Advocate Drushantha Ramsam during proceedings before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. James has called on the South African Police Service to urgently secure and review Parliament's CCTV footage, saying it will disprove those allegations. As you see here on your screen, she joins us now to discuss the claims, her response, and why she believes CCTV footage will be crucial in proving her case. Good evening to you, and thank you for your time. Categorically, did you or did you not receive classified documents from an IDAC investigator or investigators? And if so, what did they relate to?
I did not receive any documents from anyone. What happened was, I think it was in January of 2025, there was a News 24 article that surfaced. Every morning we look at the news as MPs. I found it rather concerning that crime intelligence has purchased, I think it was a hotel to the value of 21 million. And there was that article. I discussed it with my staff and said, you know what, let's bring this to the attention of IPID. And that's where all of this started. I did not receive any information from anyone. What I acted upon was out there in the public domain. I then, days later, it went out that that media advised the statement that we put out. And a couple of days later, I received a call. I had some time to think about this. I received a call from Mr. Fadil Adams. Now, bearing in mind, this was way before ADAC, it was way before Madlanga. And Fadil Adams said to me, Honorable James, I see you've released a statement, you know, for IPID to investigate. I'm going to get you in contact with people who will be able to assist. They are IDAC investigators. I said, what's the difference between IPID and IDAC? And he said he'll get someone to call me. And that's how I got into contact with Mr. Perumal, who called me, I think, a couple of days later and said to me, Ms. James, please don't pursue the IPID route. Come to us as IDAC. Yep. This will be wasteful and fruitless expenditure if you use two state organs. So let's pick up on that conversation and perhaps interactions with Dylan Perumal, a name that we've all come to know from the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, you know, the proceedings there. What was the tone and demeanor? What did it appear Mr. Perumal wanted when he was engaging with you? Did it appear that there was a certain objective he was seeking to achieve in trying to talk to you about which institution to approach for an investigation? I think at that point, I honestly didn't think much. Now, after ADAC and after Madlanga, I now realized that there was a different objective. For me, it was just like someone needs to investigate this, you know, whether it's true or not, that's for IDAC to decide. IDAC, we all know, is the South African watchdog over the police, and that's where you go to when you have sort of suspicions and allegations about SAP's members. But he then called me and said, I've been alerted by Mr. Fadil Adams. I've gotten your number from Fadil Adams, and he said that I should call you just to explain to you why it's important for you not to follow the IPID route, why you should come to IDAC. He said he's the chief investigating officer. He said to me, and I said to him, what's the difference? Who are you? What's your name and surname? And he said to me, you know what, ma'am, we're already far ahead with our investigations. And should you go to IPID, the scope might change. And when I sit back now and I look at everything that has happened, obviously they had a different agenda. Obviously their scope of investigation was different. And I said to him, okay, now that I understand, it makes sense. He said to me, they've also gotten advice from a prosecutor to say to them, they cannot have two parallel investigations running by two different state organs. It is wasteful and fruitless expenditure. Those were his words to me. Yeah. And he said to me, I'm going to make arrangements, Ms. James, for you to meet with me on Monday. I'll make sure you're safe. We'll arrange all of this. You can come to the office. And I said, no problem. It makes sense for us not to utilize, you know, for me to go to IPID if you're already busy with it. And I think that was the end of our conversation. Yeah. But at that point later on, for some weird reason, I just did not follow up. I didn't pursue the matter, and that's where it ended.
So part of what tends to happen then is that when claims of this nature are made at the Commission, the interested South African public or segments thereof will start triangulating and trying to make sense of your own interactions with the story as it has been unfolding. Questions you asked in the ad hoc committee, for example, will likely come under scrutiny. So are we to believe, what are we to make of the insights that you seemed to have in some of your interactions within the ad hoc committee? What am I talking about? Examples include when you were engaging Lieutenant General Khumalo in asking about, and I quote you here, because it is a family affair, talking about the SAPS, starting from the National Commissioner's office. So that's where we have to start. You cannot have sons, daughters, and nephews working in the offices of the National Commissioners who have not been interviewed, who have not been vetted. When you were interacting with Andrea Johnson, you were asking her way before Sunil Belochan became a name that we were familiar with. You were already asking about whether or not Sunil Belochan is someone who faces a case. Many will be asking, where were you getting this information if you were not being fed this information by some operators within crime intelligence or IDAC?
I'm so thankful for that question. Minutes before I was questioning Andrea Johnson, I went and I read up about IDAC. And that's where I found that, you know what, in the public domain, if South Africans take to Google right now and they type in that gentleman's name, they'll see that Google will show all of these allegations and all of these cases that was out there in the public domain. When I was questioning, I think it was the CFO of SABC, Fani, and I said to him, this was surely not the only incident you brought to the attention of the minister, because when you go onto the internet, you'll find that there's been dozens of cases out there in the public domain. Why did you only take this one? And I listed a few. Everything that I found was out there in the public domain. So I'm not sure why people think that, you know what, you must get it illegally or you're sitting with classified information. This is what research does, and this is what happens when you actually read and you go the extra mile to prepare for your questioning.
So Google is your friend, is the message.
Google is definitely your friend.
All right. All right, thank you for that. ActionSA MP Dereleen James there, responding to some of the, what has come through in the testimony that has been heard in the last few days at the Madlanga Commission, the evidence of State Advocate Drushantha Ramsam, which also mentioned her name.